So we're looking at ICT application, and in this part of ICT application, banking system, the banking system. When we talk about the banking system, right? The use of computer technology has totally changed how banking transaction has taken place over the years. I know most of you are you are Gen Z, right? Gen Z. In my days, we had to queue. In a place, we have like just one bank, right? Just one bank, and we probably had to queue on the ATM for us to be able to withdraw money. That was when ATM started trend, like ATM came to existence. Or you go to the bank before ATM, you go to the bank and you have to start, you just have to form a queue for the cashier to attend to you. They have break. There was one time it got to my turn. That was when she decided to have a break. I know I should feel for her because she's been there since morning. I've been there, but I've also been there since morning. It got to my time. It got to my turn. She wanted to have a break. In my mind, I was, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was not happy. Let's go with that. I was not happy. She had to take a break. Came back and then she attended to me. Okay, so, but nowadays, you don't need to see anybody to withdraw your money. You don't need to fight anybody. No, ma, no, sir. I was in this queue. You're in the back of me. No, I'm in the front of you. There's no need for that. Make matter worse, to make matter all the better, right? Back then we had to even worse, right? We had to go to the bank to pay for certain utilities. To pay for certain utilities, pay for bills. We had to go to the bank. Nowadays, in fact, you can be at in your home, right? With nobody, just minding your business and making your payment. Just making your payment. That's how important it is. Okay. So we're going to consider the following. We're going to consider the following, right? So we're going to consider the use of automatic teller machines, ATM. Okay. We'll talk about electronic funds transfer. We'll talk about the credit and debit card transaction, check clearing, internet banking. So right there on your screen, we're going to talk about the first one, electronic fund transfer. So let's talk about electronic funds transfer. Now, for electronic funds transfer, EFT is a system that allows money transfer instructions to be sent directly to a bank computer system. Okay? I want to explain this again. I want to explain how this works, right? I want to explain how this works. It's a system that allows money transfer instructions to be sent directly to a bank computer system. So an instruction is being sent. Now, no actual money is transferred. The whole system relies on electronic transfer of money between accounts. Now, let's say this is the business account. Let's say this is Ajiro Tech. And this is the money I want to pay to. Let's say I have let's use access. Let's use Citibank. Let's use Citibank, right? Let's use Citibank, right? So let's use Citibank. Now, let's say this is Citibank, right? And this is the money that Citibank want to pay. Okay, Citibank is a bank. So let's use okay, I just want to come up with a generic name. So let's look at Quadratic Corporation. Yeah, quadratic, not quadratic expression, not much, right? Just quadratic. Let's say it's a firm. And what happens is that the quadratic corporation is going to send a money transfer instruction to the bank to say, okay, this is the money I want to pay to my employees. So what happens is that the EFT is going to send instruction to the bank computer system directly. Now, what the bank is going to do, the bank is going to check, okay? It's going to check if that account have the sufficient amount. And once it has the sufficient amount, the instruction to pay the employees, there's going to be a list. That instruction talks about the list of employees to pay and how much each of them is to be paid. So, for example, employee one is to be paid £1,500, or each of them is to be paid £1,400, right? Each of them. Let's go with what is there on the slide. So that simply means that the total here is 45. So the computer is going to deduct the 45 from the organizational account and then send it to each of the employees' accounts. This is an automated process. It has no human interaction. And that is why you start seeing this person might receive his own alert, his own credit alert in 5 minutes. This one may take 10 minutes because it's the whole process, right? It's sending each of them. It's just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and until it gets to the last list. Okay. Another example of the ETF in use is when we use a credit card or debit card to pay or purchase an item. Now, those payments is done using what we call the EFT POS, electronic funds transfer point of sales. Now, most of you, when you're getting your talk, they give you a card. That's true. Where's my card? Okay, I'm just thinking of my card right now. Okay, so now what happens is you put in your card into the EFT POS. What you call a POS is not a POS, it's called an EFT POS. And you're going to slot your card, and then you can now, if it's a chip and pin reader, if it's a chip and pin card, you can now put in your pin. If it's a contactless card, of course, it makes the radio wave, right? You can just tap on it. If it's a near field communication, now I'm adding some things to it. There's what we call a near field communication. Most of you know this already. If you've been to the US, you've been to the UK, you know what I'm talking about. Apple Pay, card is out of the bag. Google Pay. So you can use your phone to make payments. And I'm going to explain all these process as I try to round up. So we have the advantages. It's the very secure payment method, and it is the very quick payment method. Secure because, again, this is done with a very strong encryption method. Okay, and take note, any payment that is made is difficult to retract the payment with an EFT POS, with an EFT, rather. It's difficult to retract the payment. So if the instruction being sent to the bank computer system with an employee list, if it's not an updated employee list, in fact, let me give an example. For example, I have 10 employees, 6 okay, no, not 6, 2 employees left. So I have 8. If I don't update the list and send to the bank computer system, and I send the old one still, it's going to pay the people that have left. So that's very, very important. For those who are doing business studies, you know what we call master files and transactional files. So you know all this, right? So that probably will make sense. So it's a very quick payment method. It is less expensive, for example, using checks, because it simply means how many checks are you going to write for payment to be made? The customer has right to dispute the EFT payment for up to 60 days. Disadvantages, we talked about it. Once the amount has been transferred to the bank, it cannot what? It cannot reverse a transaction. Okay? And it simply requires a few dispute investigation to reverse that payment. Customer needs to have funds available immediately, unlike using a check. Okay, with check, you can still give some time before payments can be made. It cannot guarantee the recipients. So it simply means that if the account number is not correct, it will pay to a wrong account. So you as an organization, you need to get this information ready. Okay, so this is just to explain the whole process for you. Okay, to explain the whole process. So let's talk about credit card transactions. Credit card transactions. So I have a customer bank, I have a merchant bank. So when we talk about the credit card transaction, they're equipped with a chip. Of course, as far as the magnetic stripe, we've talked about that, right? This system is designed to enhance what? Security, because it's better than relying only on what? Signature. So what happens is paying of items using this chip and pin is a form of what we call electronic funds transfer. Okay, let's say, for example, suppose a customer goes to a restaurant to pay for a meal using a chip and pin card. What happens? Once you've eaten your meal, okay, what happens is that the pin is entered using a keypad. Okay, this is a good example of those pin, right? And using a keypad, the card is checked to see if it's valid. Okay, to see if it's valid. The pin is then read from the chip. Okay, you slot in your card, you put in your pin, the card is checked to see if it's valid. What do I mean? Is the card stolen? Is it expired? The pin is also checked to see if the pin is correct, that the one typed in. If it's the same thing, transaction is being what? Processed. The next phase, the transaction can what? Proceed. If it's different, what happens? Transaction is terminated. Okay. Now, what happens is that the restaurant's bank will contact the customer bank. A check is being made to see if the customer has sufficient funds, and if it has sufficient funds, the transaction will be authorized, and then everything will be successful. So this is very, very important. Okay, and that is why it is important for us to. Okay, I'm just going to stop here with this. That's why it's important for us to ensure that when we are talking about credit, now we talk about credits, right? Let's talk about the difference between a credit card and debit card. Let's talk about both of them, because most of the time this can be a little bit confusing. Now, for credit card, there's a customer protection. And for credit card is an international accepted payment method. It is interest-free loan. That is if you can pay the money on time. So in this card, this is where a loan is being credited to your account and you are being given a card to make use of, right? Disadvantage of this card is that if you don't pay on time, the interest rate is usually very high. Okay, so that's very, very important. And it's very easy to end up with credit damage scores. So you want to really look at it. But when we talk about the debit card, this is the money that comes from the customer, right? It comes from what? The customer's what? Current account. Current or what? Savings what? Account. Okay. And for debit card, it's also safer than carrying. For the advantage, it's also safer than carrying cash. Right? Than carrying cash. And here you can also use it to buy item online. Okay. However, there's less protection here for disadvantage. Okay. There's less protection here, right, than the credit card. So if you make any payment, you bear the risk yourself. Okay. No credit is allowed in a debit card. So let's take note of that. And if you want to make any transaction, you must have funds available in the card. For checks are the oldest method. Okay. Checks are the oldest method of making what? Payment. Right? The oldest method of making what? Payment. Okay. Oldest method of what? Making payment. So let's take note, right? For good. So you probably write out the amount of what you want to buy, and then there's going to be a process of clearing the check before it has been authorized. Okay. So let's talk about the ATM. ATM, automated teller machine. Let's talk about that. Now, in the automated teller machine, it allows you to do the following: withdraw cash, deposit cash, deposit check the balance of the account, see a mini statement, pay a bill, do money transfer. These are the things you can do in an ATM. And it simply means automatic teller machines. Okay? So what are the processes in using an ATM? Now, I'm not sure how many of you watching this or listening have made use of an ATM, but it's a very simple process. All you have to do is, the first thing that happens is you have to what? Slot in your ATM card or your chip and pin, right, into what? The ATM. And then you type in your pin. Once you type in your pin, what happens that the pin is checked behind the scene. The pin is checked to see if it's correct. The card is also checked to see if it's stolen. This is very, very important. And once that is done, the next thing is you are given a number of options. Do you want to withdraw? Do you want to check your account balance, etc., etc.? And then you can choose what you want to do. So if the customer select withdraw cash, the amount of cash is shown on the screen. Okay, how much do you want to withdraw? Okay, is it 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 20 pounds, etc., etc.? Okay, now what happens is that the customer's account is checked to see if there is sufficient, that's behind the scene, to see if there was sufficient funds. Okay, and a check is made to see if another check is made to see if there's a daily what cash limit. You know, when you go to the ATM, every ATM has a limit that you can be able to withdraw for the day. So if the limit is not exceeded, it will proceed to make you what payment. Okay. And what's the last thing? They ask you if you want to receipt, yes or no. I choose no, because whether I give in the receipt or not, my bank is going to debit me. True story. I'm going to get the receipt on my phone. Right? I'm going to get the receipt on my phone, and I'll get it in my email. So thank you, right? Thank you. Next, right? So I don't want a physical copy. Okay. And of course, once you do that, the card is being returned to you and your money is being dispensed. So that is the process. What's an advantage? What's an advantage? Let's talk about an advantage of using ATMs. Now, advantage, I have 2 minutes. So advantage of using ATM is you can be able to withdraw cash at any time of the day. Yes, it's possible. It's possible to withdraw cash at any time of the day. Okay. Another thing that they offer many banking services. They offer many banking services without the need to go to the bank. Okay. And it is possible to access your account from anywhere in the world. It is called mobile banking. Mobile. You are making transaction on the move. That's what mobile banking means. So mobile simply means you're on the go. Banking, transaction. So you are making transaction on the go. Okay. And the last one is they usually provide a quicker access. They provide a quicker service than what? Waiting in the queue. In a queue, okay, in a bank. Let's talk about disadvantage. These ATMs are placed. Yes, my time is up. These ATMs are placed where theft can take place at night. Please, this is the disadvantage of using ATM. Don't go and withdraw money in an ATM at night. The just shall live by faith. Yes, but don't test the. Don't see the angels are watching over me. They are watching over you. But most times you just have to use, you just have to apply common logic. You don't go at night, right? So please, right? And also remember, this is the chip and pin, so it is possible to shoulder soft, right? It is possible. For disadvantage, it is possible to what? Shoulder soft. We're going to see this in chapter 8 as well. And of course, this can also lead to shoulder soft and what? Card cloning. This is done with what we call a schema. A schema. We'll see this in chapter 8. Okay. So please take note. Of course, banks will charge you for using ATMs. This is literally no story, right? There's also what we call a cash withdrawal limit. It's a disadvantage. Cash withdrawal what? Limit. So let's take note of that. Okay, that is imposed on that customer. Okay. Now, if your debit card is faulty, what happens? You can no longer what? Make transactions. So this is very, very important. So this is where we are going to stop.